Hi, Christine. So, introducing Christine Harrison again. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She's worked with, specialized in kids ages 4 to 17 over many, many years. And digital wellness is a topic that has come up very often in her recent practice. So, hi, Christine.
Hi, thank you.
So, this time we're going to talk about social exclusion, which, first of all, I think we should start by defining. So, how would you define social exclusion?
It's kind of a complicated category, sort of. It's simple and it's complicated. It pretty much the easy definition is pretty much any person or group of people that is seen as different and therefore treated differently. This includes anything from like race, gender, sexual identification, education, socioeconomic status, weight, physical capabilities, all of those things. Those are all the things we normally hear about. And a new category is slowly starting to emerge. And I think it is mostly among younger people, like kids, adolescents, and teens. That pretty much when they are not in the know or they don't have the cultural capital of the newest apps and games and things that are going on pretty much online, that they are definitely being socially excluded on the playground and after school and pretty much online. If they're not allowed to play the games that everyone else is playing, if they're not allowed, if they're limited to, if their time is limited on things like House Party or chat things, TikTok, Snapchat, or if they're not even allowed to have Snapchat, a lot of times their friends at school don't even want to talk to them at break time because they're not in the know. They don't have that cultural capital and they're very much left out.
Okay, yeah. So, and it sounds like when you're explaining that, um, that I would imagine this is amplified by platforms that have a social aspect, whether that's social media, right? Or
Definitely.
video games that might have multiplayer or,
Mhm.
chat or, anything where they can see their friends online, right? Wouldn't that be amplified?
Definitely, definitely. And there's all that because then all of their friends are going to be talking about that the next day. They're going to be like, "Oh, when that thing happened," or "Oh, when that person reposted that video," or "Oh, we made a mirror video of this, for TikTok. We made a mirror video of somebody else's video," and there'll be the one girl standing over here going, I didn't see that one because I wasn't allowed to be online last night. And three or four of the friends will all be sitting around, standing around talking about it. And this one girl who is limited will pretty much be a social outcast.
Yeah. And I mean, I think most of us know the term FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. That's been
Yep.
out there for a long time. How do you think this
Yep.
differs from FOMO? Is it worse? Is it different? Is it related? Like how do those relate?
Well, the FOMO more is the internal feeling of the person who is limited with their social media, as opposed
Mhm.
to the social exclusion is happening by the people are excluding the person who is limited on their social media, right? So the one is external, right? The social exclusion is being caused by the group of people who are not excluded, right? Who have no limits, and then the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is definitely by the one who is limited.
Okay, got it. So let's talk about how social exclusion affects mental health. And, maybe it differs, because you described different types of social exclusion with digital exclusion being the newest one. Maybe we can stick to digital a little bit more, unless you think it makes sense to talk about it in general. But how does it affect mental health? What does it do to that kid that's being excluded?
Yes, it is all over the map, and it definitely is a huge range of things, mostly anxiety and depression, which are the two biggest things that are talked about most. Anxiety and depression, but also feeling lonely. A lot of kids feel less than. They sometimes feel stupid, and some of them actually become avoidant. They will avoid their parents because they're angry at their parents for limiting them, and they'll avoid their friends because they know that they can't keep up, that they don't have the cultural capital. They're not in the know, so they'll tend to avoid and go off on their own. Another thing that happens is with some of the kids who sneak. they will actually feel huge guilt and shame for sneaking. They'll either find old devices that the parents think, that have been turned off a long time ago. They'll find an old iPad. They'll sometimes sneak their phone into the bathroom. They'll sneak at nighttime, or they will specifically go to friends' houses specifically just to be up on social media, and they will lie to their parents and say, oh, we played tennis, or we, just hung out in her room, but it was specifically to go over there to use her phone or her
Yeah.
iPad or her, so they feel the guilt and shame. Unfortunately, the guilt and shame isn't enough to overpower their need to actually sneak. So
Hmm.
definitely all those things are going on. Another thing that is happening is adults develop a prefrontal cortex. Like, our prefrontal cortex comes together for females usually around age 22, and for males around
Hmm.
age 25. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for all of the executive functioning. That's the cause and effect, the recognizing when we're doing something too much or too little, the 5-year plan, the idea of what to do, how to spend our time more wisely, to sort of grow as human beings. Children do not have this. And so what happens to them is they are thinking mostly from emotion, and that is coming from their amygdala. And so this is called amygdala hijacking. And kids literally do believe that they don't believe it cognitively, but what their brain is telling them, in a way, they're reacting to the idea that they actually think they're going to die. Because if they are not socially accepted, they are going to die. And this does apply to any other group of people that are literally socially excluded. Is if they do not have access to the same kinds of things that everyone else has access to, if they are um, differented by people, then they are now socially excluded, and they could actually not do as well as other people who are actually included. So adults
Yeah.
have the capacity, especially with social media and digital stuff, we definitely have the capacity to recognize, hey, I'm not going to die if I don't check my Instagram every day.
Yeah.
But kids,
Yeah.
do not feel this way. Kids must check their Instagram every day to be able to keep up on the playground tomorrow when everyone is talking about what the newest post was, right?
Yeah.
So that
So
so
that,
that's the mental health is all over the place. It is a mess.
yeah. Yeah. And so that leads me to the next question, which is, what do you do as a parent? Like,
You're right.
if
Of
you
course.
see your kids experiencing this, if you hear them complaining about this. I mean, I'm sure, as a parent, what I hear the most is kids complaining they don't have a phone yet, right? Or that they can't play a certain video game that is, rated for teenagers when they're 8.
Right.
So
Right.
what can parents do to help them navigate this if they literally feel like they're going to die? That sounds very dramatic. So what
Yes.
can we do?
Yes. So the first thing actually is to ask them, right? So without the prefrontal cortex, they are not able to come up with this on their own, but they can be guided, like they can be guided to use their logic center of their brain with adults. Like, adults can remind them of cause and effect type things. Adults can remind them, hey, it's going to rain, take an umbrella, right? So kind of like that, we can ask them to get their prefrontal cortex working. What will happen if you are not in the know every single time, all the time? What will happen? And the kids are not going to answer, I'm going to die, right? But that is what their brain is automatically thinking on its own. So if you actually ask them, it requires them to actually think about it, is what will happen if you're not in the know? And their answer is probably going to be something like, well, nobody's going to talk to me, or I'm going to be left out. And then we can actually empathize with them. And we could say, yeah, I know that's really, really hard. And I know that that just really stinks, you know, but right. And then you can explain as an adult, for you as an adult, you can explain to your kid, but right now, this social media really isn't the most important thing. Your mental health is the most important thing. You're keeping up with your grades and having real relationships with other living human beings is the most important thing, right? Another thing that you could do with them is actually research with them,
Yeah.
so that they can feel in the know without having to have hours and hours and weeks of access to whatever is going on. So if there's some kind of new series of videos or something, this happens all the time, like a new series of like scary videos or a new series of videos with a certain cartoon character or a new series or even in a game, right? Is that you can literally Google it. You can go online and say, what's the newest thing going on in Roblox? And the kid doesn't have to play Roblox for 14 hours to discover all of this. Google will tell you what the most popular stuff is, so the kid can actually sort of at least recognize what everyone else is talking about, and
Mm-hmm.
then they won't feel as left out. They'll feel a little bit included, right? They won't feel totally stupid. And you can also, I know you cannot choose your friends for your kids, but I think one of the most helpful things, especially for younger kids who are like 8 and younger, is help them find friends who are also limited.
Mm-hmm.
Try to, form a mom and dad's, a parents group, figure out other parents who are parenting kids who go to your kid's school.
Yeah.
And again, you can't force kids together, but it makes it so much easier if they know other kids who are also limited with their social media.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about what you're saying is when you were talking about looking things up to help them just be able to keep up, right, without actually doing it, is kids will actually, at least in my son's peer group, they will actually say, "Oh yeah, I play that. I do that just to keep up." But when I ask their
Yes.
mom, they're like, "No, they don't do that."
No,
Right.
no.
And then, I mean, two things. One is like, to your point, it almost doesn't matter if they're doing it. What matters is the knowledge of it. And number
Yes.
two, I can go back to my son and be like, sorry, but I talked to so and so's mom, and no, he does not play that either. So
Oh,
to your point, like banding together as parents and talking about these
yes.
issues, without
Hmm.
judgment, right? Like if you play that thing and it works for you, fine. But you
Yeah.
know what? I'm having meltdowns with this one. You are too. That's uh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It makes the parents not feel alone as well because we don't want to see our kids suffer. We don't want to see them be excluded, right? When everybody else
Correct.
has a phone or whatever it is and yours doesn't. We feel it too as parents. We feel that exclusion, but I think,
Yes.
talking about it really obviously helps, everybody helps
Yes.
the kids, helps.
Yes.
So yeah, so those are the,
Yes.
the things that have worked for us anyway. Um,
Yes.
all right. Well, yeah. Well, I really appreciate your help and your insight on this
Thank you.
topic. And I really think that it helps break down what it means because it just sounds like a technical term, but I think everybody can relate to this.
I think so too. I agree. I agree.
All right. Thank you so much, Christine.
Not a problem. Hope to see you again.
Thank you.